What's good, y'all? Gnostic Jaw. Been a little while since I made a video. It's gonna be a little interesting. I want to talk about I'm gonna call this map and territory. And I actually had a few conversations recently about this, about the idea of there being a map and there being a territory. But not only is there a map, there are many maps. I would say billions of maps. And when I say maps, I'm referring to what each of us what each individual would consider. I don't know if I said that right. Would consider reality, or their idea of reality, how things work, the structure of their life. And then there's the territory, which is reality itself with, and I'd make this analogy to say, we have a relatively decent understanding of the territory because we've been equipped with the the mechanics, so to speak, to be able to operate, with our five senses and everything, and in our minds, our abilities to think and reason, logic, and all of these sorts, right? So we have a pretty decent. I mean, I don't know how decent, because that's what I'm saying. I don't know how far off or how close I am to the truth of reality, because I'm only going off of what I can conceive. So, hey, maybe I don't know anything about what that actually really is, but I just like to consider for the fact that as a collective, as a society, or as a country, or we have different obviously we have different parts of the world, and people have different belief systems, but I'd say that for the most part there is a general consensus about what we can all understand to be the territory based off of our understanding with the maps that we all individually use. I don't know if I might throw some people off with this. This is just I don't know. Some people might be like, yeah. Anyway, this is for my ones that like really tap in. So yeah, everyone's walking around with their map. I use the analogy that everyone's looking down at their map, guiding themselves through the territory. Some people are using what they can reference in their minds to say, this is what life is, this is how people are, this is how things work, or this is all of these things that we definitively believe within ourselves, the beliefs that we hold. I would say the map, I don't want to get too nitty, but we could do it. I would say that the map, you have the map, and then you have where you are, then you have the icons that display where you can find different things, where where to get certain things, or to find your way through where you're trying to go for where you're navigating to. All right. But I'd like to say that the territory is almost like pitch black darkness at night, and you can't really see anything. You have a flashlight that can see barely directly in front of you, and that's terrifying. So most people would say, yeah, I cannot see what's in front of me, but I know what the map is telling me. The map is telling me to go straight, to make a left, to make a right. But you don't know that in the territory, if you make that right, it might run into wild animals. If you make a left, you might run into a block in the road, a block in your path that you may have to figure out another way to overcome. And I say all this because it's like, that's what I'm like. It's like people are living their lives based off of their map and never observing the territory long enough to see that if they just stared in front of them with a flashlight, they may not be able to see everything, but they'd be able to see what they're not seeing when they're looking at the map. And that is the point. It's like, if you're looking at the map, you have a decent understanding of where you need to go, but you don't have a full in-depth understanding. You wouldn't have the same understanding as if you're looking directly at the road in front of you and seeing all the different elements that could play a factor in how fast or slow that path, that journey will be. And it's just interesting to see how many people are glued to their map. And I feel like this analogy is so good, especially considering like if the environment is a dark space and all you have is a flashlight to see in front of you, because that paints a picture of a very scary and uncertain and unknown. And that's what I'm saying. That's how reality is. Reality is literally unknown. All we have is is our reference to what we have directly in front of us at any given moment, plus whatever we can reference from our past, i.e. the map. So all we have is the map, which is our reference from the past. And on top of that, all we have is a flashlight that only sees directly in front of us. And like, who the fuck wants to take the chance of looking and seeing a raccoon or a wolf or I don't know what type of forest will have those, but you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever type of animals or creatures you'd fucking find in the forest, having a flashlight to see all of that stuff. Most people are like, I could already imagine the girls. I don't want to see spiders. I don't want to see boo. Guys. That, and I would say like that. That's if this analogy is really real, because like a guy is more likely to use his flashlight and look at the territory and explore the unknown, and that's why men usually reach higher heights in success, or like just in I wouldn't even say success. I would just say men usually pursue, or like that's why men are the ones to do these things and do all the dangerous tasks and because we're the ones who have to directly look at the territory and face everything in the territory for what it is, and have to be equipped with the knowledge and information in order to meet the task. Whereas women, or some women, I wouldn't even say this is like a gender thing, because some guys aren't like this and some women aren't like this. Some women are actually really brave, and they stare that, and they hold their flashlight up, and they observe the territory as well as they use their map. So, and I feel like that's the most brilliant way, or some of the most brilliant people are people that know how to navigate using the territory and the anomalies and the new things that could come about, but also being able to intelligently, work with the map. So, so I mean, I wouldn't even put it as a gender thing, because I would say that, like, there are women who are, but I would just say for the most part, women are way more, like, they don't want to see no fucking spiders and creepy crawlies and all sorts of fucking noises and animals. They're terrifying, and it may be terrifying to a guy too, but we the ones that gotta really take the flashlight, look and say, oh, that was a fucking bird, that was a spider, that motherfucker poisonous. Don't let, we gotta be like, do all of that shit. Like, that's how I see it. Anyway, so, back to, and then it's like I said, most people are just glued to their map. That's what I'm saying. This isn't, because I see this for guys and women. They're glued to their map. All they they're so glued to their map, they forgot about the territory. See, that's, I'm hitting right now. I'm cooking. They look at their map for so long, they forget about the territory. They think their map is the territory, and then they keep falling and tripping and running into wild animals and obstacles, and they're like, oh my God, this map didn't mention anything about wolves. This map didn't mention anything about obstacles. This map didn't mention anything about, and it's like, yeah, because you're not, that's what I say, an intelligent person knows how to use the territory and the map. I don't think it's intelligent to lean too much into either, because there's motherfuckers that'll be like, oh, I don't need the map. I got it. I know how to get it. And then they just using the territory, and now you're lost. You get lost somewhere thinking that you knew, like, so it's like, it's conducive to have a map. And that's why I say, intelligent person looks at the territory and the map, and those could fluctuate. You could spend a majority of time looking at the territory with the flashlight and then glance at the map, or you could be looking at the map and glance at the territory, depending on what the circumstances require, but if we're looking at a situation where it's mostly dark all the time, and, to add a little, whatever, sometimes it's daytime, but, it's mostly dark. And even if it isn't dark, you're in the forest, you're lost in the forest in the middle of nowhere that you've never been in before. And this map is it gives you it's a standard map. It isn't anything, too special, It's like Minecraft or something. Cracker. But yeah. It's just funny to notice how many people only look at the map And it's like, yeah, those are the people that you think have it all together because they make it all make sense. Oh, yeah. All you have to do is just go up this way, that way, that way. And they sound like the most intelligent people until they're put in front of the territory. And they fold. They fold badly. And then you got people who think they know it all and they only use the territory and then they get eaten by a wolf. And hey, you could do both and still all of those things could happen. But you know, it's I feel like it's way less likely to happen if you pay close attention to both as often as you can and fluctuate as needed and always being able to adapt to the unknowns in the circumstance. Yeah. Again, I say it's just funny to see people, these things exist in me as well. I spent a lot of my life thinking that I knew everything, and now I can see that was just my map. Especially when I go out and see other people's maps, and I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, we have a lot of similarities on where we think we're going on this part of the map, but for some reason you think you got to go left here to get to this, and I don't think you have to go that way. But that's how you know it, see? But the territory, in reality, in the territory, neither of us know until we get there and we're faced with it. And then that moment allows the possibility for something different. This probably seems like some rambling, but I think I'm really, I think I'm sounding like a... Well, Jacques Khalif is a philosopher, so I sound just like him. I sound just like Jacques Khalif. But I'm not. I'm Gnostic Ja. Anyway, maps and territories. Do you know your map? Oh, that's another thing. Some people don't even know their map. I mean, the territory is kind of impossible to really understand. That's why we're all provided with a map. But or the territory would be impossible to understand without at least some sort of guidance system, I would say. So the guidance system is definitely supportive in figuring out the territory, but it's just like, you know, some people, so, you know, it's just to say, you know, trust yourself, you know, because our references and our, you know, what we've come to learn thus far, I mean, I'm pretty sure most of it, if it's kept you alive and it's helped you do some good stuff, then it could be some use. But, you know, always remember the territory is forever changing. You know, sometimes it's raining, sometimes it's snowing, sometimes it's dogs, sometimes it's cats, sometimes it's spiders, sometimes it's monkeys, sometimes it's gorilla. Like, you know, you never know. You never know where they're at. You never know what time they're going to be there. You never know. All you know is you have a map that tells you how to get from point A to point B. And the map isn't even all the way clear on that. The map just gives you a vague enough understanding where you have some direction, right? Where you have somewhere to say, where you have some trust and faith to say, I am going somewhere. Somewhere. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's somewhere. And then, you know, you have those that look in the territory and it's the same thing. That's what I'm saying. The same principle applies because you can have the same mentality when it comes to both. You could really think you have it figured out just based off of the belief. But in reality, I don't know. And like I said, the more I speak to people, the more I realize no one knows anything. And the more I realize no one knows anything, the more I realize I don't know anything and no one knows anything. And I should look at the territory a little bit more, and maybe I should you know, gather some supplies to help advance the perceptiveness I have towards the territory so that I can utilize more, because I could be walking past food, I could be walking past berries and all sorts of things that would contribute to my survival and for me to thrive in this unknown, uncertain environment. And yeah, this isn't about being lost in the forest. So if you catch my drift, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure I broke it all down, but I guess I'll just end it off here. This is like, I swear I love these ideas sometimes because I swear I could go on for days, but it's about to be 15 minutes, and I usually try to keep my videos 15, 20 minutes, so I'll just leave it here. But Side note, this wasn't about. I'm so bad at this. A side note, this wasn't about a forest and a map. It was about reality and our understanding of it. Yeah, thanks for if you listen. Gnostic. Well, thank me actually. I don't know. Even if I feel like no matter what, if someone listens to this, the value they're gonna get is value. It's value in this. I know it is, and I feel like it's value. That's why I made a whole video on it, and someone's gonna get value. So, thank you for receiving the value. If you do, Gnostic Ja, peace.